CQ, 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 calling CQ the Old Friends Net. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, North Carolina, calling CQ the Old Friends Net. This net meets 3 times weekly on this frequency, Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., Sunday afternoons at 6 p.m. The net is conducted in the Amplitude Modulation mode and in the roundtable format. Any station capable of generating an AM signal is welcome to participate. Net is an excellent place to look for information, parts and pieces, maybe trade a rig, or just spend some time enjoying mainly vintage equipment. CQ, the Old Friends Net. So, stations wishing to participate today, give me a calling. Come now.
N4LQ.
WB4ARK.
KB4PSI.
WB4NKL. KZ4 Mama.
W4MEC.
KJ4YEV.
All right, let me tell you what I have. There was one double that John won. I have N4LQ, WV4ARK, KB4PSI, WB4NKL, KZ4B, W4MEC, KJ4YEV. All right, who was the other one?
K1VVC.
Okay, have you, John? Any others? Okay, looks like we've got a short list this Sunday afternoon. Let me run through it one more time. N4LQ, WB4ARK, KB4PSI, WB4NKL, KZ4B, W4MEC, KJ4YEV, K1VVC. Any other stations? Alrighty, well, we'll begin with this list. So far signals are good, and good to hear everybody this afternoon. We've got about 46 degrees, mostly sunny and a little bit breezy up here in Burnsville, North Carolina. And looks like tonight's supposed to get down about 34 degrees, which I'm not looking forward to. But anyway, those are the conditions that prevail. As I said, name's Dave, running to BC610C, receiving on the HQ150. And despite the rain, enjoyed the Greenville, Tennessee Hamfest very much. And it was sure wonderful to see a lot of the old friends over there. So we'll get started. Steve, down to you. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4 LLR, N4LQ. I'm curious what transpired at the Greenville Hamfest. Did you find any treasures, anything that you brought with you back to the shack, or did you sell something? I think probably, I'm sure Cliff went, not sure who else. It was just a little bit too far for me. Well, it's only 52 degrees here, and it's been overcast and dribbling all day, just constant dribble, and we got about half an inch of rain, so not a very good day for walking. So we just stayed here in the shack. So buddy, how's things over there on the Lake Wiley? WB4ARK, N4LQ.
N4LQ, WB4ARK. Well, a little bit interesting yesterday. We had a front come through and dropped a good bit of hail in some parts of this area. Over in Rock Hill, they had some cars with windshields broken, holes in them, and some homes with windows broken, and large tree uprooted in the close to the Winthrop College area. And so that was the big highlight there. A lot of leaves in the gutters of the roadway, but nothing around here in our immediate area. We had some heavy rain, but no hail, some lightning, and at my son's house, he lives south, I guess you might say southwest of here. He had some hail, but not as intense as they had in Rock Hill. And he also had some hail at his shop area. So that was the highlight yesterday afternoon about this time. So with that, over to KB4PFI, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, KB4PSI. Good evening to everyone on the net here. Everybody sounds good over here in Greenville. And Dave, boy, it's good to see you yesterday, and that was a good ham fest. I just hate that it rained. Kind of got a lot of the parts wet outside. But and wow, didn't we have a good meal there? That was fantastic. I'm running the old Apache here, transmitter, and the receiver I picked up at the Greenville Ham Fest yesterday. It's a ICOM R75. My old R390 here, I've got him on the workbench. I've got to do a little work on it. And it's just luck to find my receiver here. So, and what a nice little receiver. It's a dandy. But anyway, I don't know where that Larry is. We may have to text him or something, get him in here. But good evening to you, Steve. Let's see. Let me roll it around to Cliff here. Cliff, go ahead and get him. WB4NKL. In the group, KB4PSI.
Okay, Tommy, that's WB4NKL. Cliff in Limestone, Tennessee, running the command set again today. Plate modulated and a Drake 2B receiver. Yeah, I had a good time at the Ham Fest, and it's good to see some of the guys, and good meal afterwards. Picked up a Yaesu FRG7. Never had one of those, and a guy had one on his table. It looked real good. He said it had problems and sounded like my kind of rig, but I brought it home, and I don't know, I really didn't find any problems. It seems to work fine. So those are a little bit difficult to tune if you're not used to them with the way the pre-selector and everything works on it. But so I was disappointed. It worked. But had a good time down there. Rain come in there about I guess about 9 and lasted till 10:30. So wasn't a hard rain, but just enough to dampen everything. I think if it hadn't been for that, it'd probably been one of the bigger ones we've had at Greenville, Tennessee. Chuck talked to Carl Whitaker. He was over to Greenville, South Carolina Ham Fest, and Carl didn't talk like they had much of a turnout over there, so it's curious if anybody else went over to that one. So go ahead, John. KZ4B, WB4NKL.
Okay, WB4NKL in the group, KZ4B, fine business there, Cliff, great copy. That command set is doing a super job. question, what plate voltage do you run when it's loaded? I'd be curious to know how hard I can push mine. You come in so good. Shifting gears, I spent the whole afternoon working on a Telrad 18A crystal calibrator. I wanted one of those things all my life, and I finally picked one up at the Raleigh Ham Fest. I had to replace the filter capacitors. I added a fuse, and I took that on the inside, and it needed a power cord, and generally cleaned up. Fired it up, and I noticed that it had been modified, so I thought, uh-oh, this thing probably won't work. But it seems to work fine. So I'm just tickled to death. They had added a variable tuning capacitor preset, not something connected to a knob on the front, and had changed the oscillator tube to a 7-pin miniature tube, I think like a 6AK5 from the original large. I'm not sure what it was because I don't have any literature on it other than there was an electric radio article, but it didn't go into any detail on the unit. It was just talking about the history of where during World War II they screwed up, and they had a ratio of 75-to-1 of the number of crystals that went with any transmitter. So this thing was listed not as a crystal oscillator, but as a crystal. And so they ordered 75 of those units for every transmitter that was out there. So it turned out to be 3,000 plus units, where they only needed like 500. And of course, at the end of the war, they had a tremendous number of surplus units, of which mine is one. It was a mil-spec one, not one of the Hallicrafters units. I think that was an HT-17, if I remember correctly. Hallicrafters bought that company, and during the war, if I understand correctly. But anyway, works like a top. So I will enjoy that because it puts out a note every 1,000 hertz, or you can select 1,000 kcs, 100 kcs, or 10 kcs. It's selectable, and it doesn't help a something like a HRO5 where you don't have a calibrated scale. There you need a signal generator, and I have an HRO5 that's beloved, but that needs a signal generator. But if you've got something like any of the Hamlin or National receivers, then it's a super crystal calibrator. And this one looks pretty good cosmetically, and it's quite ancient. Like I say, I'm dazzled that it actually works between being modified and being ancient. So that's the news of the day. The weather here, we didn't get any hail, no lightning. We really missed the bullet, but it's pizzled all day today. and there was a lot of static on AM on the broadcast band last night and other places. So it's time to pass it on. Charlie, take it away. W4MEC in the group, KZ4B, over.
Hey John, KZ4B and the old friends, W4MEC. Real good copy all around. Got a little noise on the signals this afternoon, and my antenna's a little wet. See if I can null out the SWR any. Not doing too good. Here, I never can remember which way to turn the knob when it's wet and dry. There we go. Okay. And that brought my plate current up. Anyway, it was raining, then the sun came out, and then the sun went back in, and it's been raining since last night sometime. Went down on Friday took the RV down with my wife and set her up in Lakewood Campground. I got a story to tell about that on the next go-round. Quite interesting. And came back yesterday, rental car, and dropped it off this morning. And uneventful trip on the return, but going down is a little bit different. But I'll go that on the next go around here and get through at least one time. Anyway, we're on a standard rig here, the TX1 Apache and RX1 receiver through a Heathkit tuner to a dipole antenna through wet window line right now. So let's see. Send it on down to John, Al, KJ4YEV in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group, KJ4YEV. Thank you, Charlie. Well, it looks like old man Winter's come back around to bite us on the tail one final time here this year. Or maybe we just got spoiled. Earlier this week it was up in the upper 80s, and now it's 52 here today. It's been raining. I heard about that big storm that headed in Rock Hill. Matter of fact, I have some friends down there that had some cars damaged. They said it was golf ball-sized hail. One guy got his windshield broke out, and several people got dents in their bodies in the metalwork. So, but we missed it here. We just got a little bit of thunder and lightning and a little bit of rain. Not that much really, but it was pretty bad down in Rock Hill, which is not that far from here, from what I've heard. And I'm not going to keep it. It's time to send it on around to John, K1VVC. Over to you. This is KJ4YEV, over.
Very good. KJ4YEV, K1VVC. Real good, Al. And everybody's coming through good. I hope I am. I'm using a little bit different antenna than normal. I don't know why, but I think the remote switch, which is sends the control down the coax cable on the switch on the top of my tower is not working properly, so I have to lower the tower and take care of that. But in the meantime, I've got several other antennas, so I'm using an NFED, an 80-meter NFED antenna here on this today. Hope everybody can hear me. Using the usual Johnson 500 and receiving on an ITT Mackie 3010C receiver. And it just rained and drizzled today, so I was working up here in the shack on a few things and reading a book and watched a little TV and did pretty much nothing, which was a nice, relaxing day. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Dave, and thanks for running the net. And nice to hear. Everybody's coming through great today. W84LLR, K1VVC.
All right, John, fine business. Do we have any other check-ins? Come now. Okay. K1VVC and the group WA4LLR. Well, John, I don't know if it's conditions, but you're louder than usual on me. Good signal off the NFED. So no worries there. Al, glad you didn't get any of that tremendous hail. Charlie, glad you had a good trip down to Myrtle Beach, and thank you so much for meeting me Thursday and delivering those rigs. John, okay on the Super Crystal Calibrator. Glad that's working out for you. Cliff, the command set sounds, as always, wonderful. And Tommy, the TX1 sounds good. Glad the R75 is doing a good job. And Cliff, glad the Frog 7 is not as well. I'm sorry that it's not broke enough for you to fix, but glad it's working. Buddy, glad that the hail didn't get you either. And Steve, you were asking about purchases and sales at the Hamfest. First Hamfest I've been to in quite a while that I sold everything I took. Let's see, what did I sell? I sold a 2-meter and 440 brick. Sold a RME 4300 receiver, and sold a Ten-Tech Scout and modules. So liquidated a few things, making room for other stuff. And the only thing that followed me home, I picked up from Chuck, was one of the RF sensing SDR receiver TR antenna switch, the MFJ 1708B SDRS. I'd been wanting to pick one of those up for some time, and Chuck had one at a really good price. So that's about it for things that I picked up. And it was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of great fellas, and we went out and had some excellent barbecue at a restaurant called Southern Class. 15 of us went, so we had a table full and just a great time of food and fellowship. Let's see. Sun's pretty active the last couple of days. Right now, the sunspot count's 240. The solar flux index is 217, and the K is 3.7 in that ballpark. So it's hopping pretty good. A few items from this day in history. On this day in 1986, a much hyped television special featuring Geraldo Rivera opened a vault that was in the former headquarters of Al Capone, but the 30 million people that were watching discovered that the vault was empty, which was quite a letdown. On this day in 1934, the Daily Mail printed a photograph that reportedly depicted the head and neck of Loch Ness Monster. Sparked an international sensation, but later revealed to be a hoax. On this day in 1918, Baron von Richthofen, Germany's top flying ace in World War I, was shot down and killed in France. On this day in 1830, James Starley, an inventor and father of the bicycle industry, was born in Sussex, England. And on this day in 1789, John Adams was sworn in as the first vice president of the United States 9 days before George Washington's presidential inauguration. So that's interesting. It seemed like they were about to get the cart before the horse, but what do I know? So that's about it. So let's go back around. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, WA4LLR, N4LQ. I could use a 2-meter brick. If I see one around, I may grab it. This rig, I'm using a Expert Electronics SDR, and it's got 2 meters on it. It's only about 10 watts, so I could use a little bit of gain on 2 meters. But anyhow, real good on the Hamfest. Sorry about the rain, but sounds like you did well. And yeah, the MFJ TR switch, good thing to have. And let's see, John, I was looking at that Telrad frequency meter, it's called. 18A frequency meter, which really it's a crystal calibrator, I guess, but that's what they called it. Fred Garner Company made it in Chicago, Illinois, 445 East Ohio Street. So I'm going to look that up and see what is at 45 East Ohio Street. I kind of enjoy doing that kind of stuff. Oh, anyway, let's see. What else did I have here? John VBC, your signal's better than I've ever heard it. You're 20 to 25 over here. Extreme, huge improvement. So I'm glad that switch failed. And what's it doing on top of the, why would you put a switch up on top of the tower? It's, well, I guess that's okay if you don't mind climbing up there to work on it. I think I'd just run the coaxes down and either put the switch at the bottom of the tower or in the shack, but there you go. And let's see, and the hailstorm, and I heard Charlotte really got a bunch of hail, tore up a bunch of roofs and stuff, so I guess the insurance companies will be happy to see that. Over to you, buddy. WB4ARK, N4LQ.
N4LQ, WB4ARK. Okay, Steve. Well, the sun is trying to come out. It's been drizzling here all day long, and now we're getting sunshine, and the rain has parted for now, so hopefully we will be drying up for a bit. We've had a pretty good bit of rain all day. I guess we had 0.47 this morning. That was over yesterday and overnight. I would say we've probably had that much again today. So looks like we've had a nice little rain shower for the period, and going to help with the grass and plants, of course. Maybe we'll go through this summer without an extended dry spell. And very good, John, on the frequency device. I wonder if you're going to recap it and make some improvements in the circuitry as far as components is concerned. Let's see what else we got. Well, that's about it. So we'll turn it over to KB4PFI, WB4ARK.
WB4ARK, KB4PSI. Okay, well, everybody sounds good over here in Greenville this afternoon. Had a beautiful day here. We had the rain this morning. It moved on out and turned into a beautiful day here. But I'm hearing we may have some light frost tonight, so that's not good. My mom, she's got some apple trees in her backyard that's got little small apples on them now. The blooms have turned into little small apples, so I don't know if the frost will bother those or not. If any of you guys know there, you might comment on that. But I sure hope they don't. We haven't gotten any in 2 years. 2 years ago, we had some really good apples off of those trees. But it's got them in the past 2 years, so looking to see if we get some good apples this time. But John, the end-fed there, my goodness, you're stronger on me here in Greenville than I've ever heard you. So might want to write that one on the wall. That's a dandy. That's a good antenna, it sounds like. Okay, I did text Larry up in Wise, but I have no response, so he may be kicked back in the recliner, and that's probably where he's at. Said he ate too much, Dave, yesterday, so I don't know. That was some good food. Good ham fest. If any of you didn't get to make it, it was a good one despite the weather. But got to see Norm, W7IUC. I was kind of hoping he would be in here, but we did get to meet Norm there yesterday. WB4NKL, to take it, go ahead, Cliff, KB4PSI.
KB4 PSI, it's WB4NKL. That Hamfest might have wore Larry out there yesterday, Tommy. He was, I think he had a good time. I talked to him a little earlier on 220. John, this I'm running this ICO plate modulator on the command sets, and looks like I'm running 125 mils of plate current, and I think it's at around 700 volts. It's been a while since I measured it, but it seemed like it was be anxious to hear your 807s. I don't know if you said you had a homebrew or what you had with the 807s, but be interested to hear that. I've got a Johnson Viking mobile that I got off of eBay. It hadn't showed up yet. It was supposed to have been here yesterday, but hopefully tomorrow. I'm looking for it, and hopefully in good shape. So it'll be another little project to mess around with. Send it on around. Go ahead, John. KZ4B, WB4NKL.
Okay, WB4NKL and the group KZ4B. Fine business there, Cliff. Appreciate the feedback on the plate voltage. I'm gonna run as much as I can. What I'm using is a Globe Chief Deluxe. I call it a Globe Chief, CHEAP Deluxe, because it's got the spindliest tank coil in it of any double 807 or 6146 rig I have ever seen. I mean, it's not adequate for a 50-watt transmitter. And I plan on transplanting a T150 tank coil, which is quite robust, but I have a parts unit into it, and but I'm modulating it with a single-ended 30-watt hi-fi transformer that I got from Hammond. And it's an 8 ohm to 2500 ohm transformer, and I'll run it backwards where the 2500 ohms is going to the 807 plates, and the 8 ohm I will feed with a solid state amplifier. I think that's a way that you can it's a poor man's modulator these days, and because it's hard. Tube amps are like gold, and modulator solid state PAs are a dime a dozen. And at the Huntsville Ham Fest, I got one free, brand new, that's 100 watts. So that's my approach. And speaking of solid state, I finally got a hold of a guy in Myrtle Beach that had an audio repair business, specializing in vintage tube and solid state gear, because I have a Marantz 2325, which is, those things sell for up to $5,000 a piece on eBay. It was the most powerful stereo, and it was solid state, stereo receiver in the mid to 70s to about the early 1980s. I picked it up in Japan and hand carried it back. I was over there on business, and it's turned into an insanely desirable collector's item. But now I got to decide, this thing is totally mint. I mean, it is beautiful. And, you know, should I leave it alone as a display unit or let this guy go through it and refurbish the electronics so I can hear it? And feedback on that subject is kind of like my brother's father-in-law had a 1911 .45 ACP pistol in World War I vintage. It was worth about $3,500, and he had it engraved. Beautiful hand engraved job. And the pistol with the beautiful engraving is worth less than it would have been as a you know, an untouched, unmodified antique with a shot-out barrel. You know, now it's got a nice stainless steel barrel, pearl handle, and you know, it's beautiful. But it would have been better if it had been left alone. So, you know, there's two different crowds. You know, what's pretty and what works good. Interesting debate there. And shifting gears again, I'm going to make this an old buzzard. Dave, you mentioned the MFJ 1708. Mine is the B model, which is probably what you got. And that is a neat trick. And it's just great for use with vintage stuff. But I've told MFJ on several occasions that it lacks one thing. That it's got two RCA jacks on it, female jacks. One is for an external signal to key it, which you don't need because you're, you know, picking up RF, and because you don't have a handy way to key it. So it's got something you don't need. You could take that jack, and if the internal relay is double pole, double throw, then it's got one output, and like I have to take that output and feed another relay so I can key both the linear amplifier and the receiver. With just one output, then I guess it's designed just to key the receiver. But they should make a C model that has uses those same two RCA jacks, but one keys your amp and the other keys your receiver, and I think they'd sell like hotcakes for you know, boat anchor guys like us. So if anybody talks to MFJ, pull their chain if you agree with my comment. So now that everybody is asleep, I will pass it on over to Charlie. W4 MEC in the group, KZ4B, over.
Okay, John, KZ4B in the group, W4MEC. Let's see, Carl, I talked to Carl on the way back yesterday on 2 meters, and he said that he kind of summed up the Greenville, South Carolina Hand Fest as he brought stuff to sell on the table, and he didn't even bother to get out the table or the stuff. And I said, well, is that because you didn't have to, because it was immediately bought? And he said, no, it wasn't worth the effort. So it must not have been a very good turnout. And here's the story of our trip down there. You know, I-26 in South Carolina to Columbia is a nightmare and a half. They've got detours, exit off the internet detours. It's a mess. So we always get off at exit 54, go to Whitmire, and go down 176, and apparently nobody on the planet knows about that. A beautiful highway all the way to I-20. Very light traffic to no traffic. And which is what we were doing. A few miles out of Whitmire, the low coolant light comes on in my Suburban pulling the trailer. So I pull over at an abandoned gas station and look under the hood and said, I don't see anything obvious to the casual observer, so I added some antifreeze to the tank, which should have been my giveaway there because I had no pressure. And I started going up the road and the light came on again, so I started, I started watching closely and temperature started coming up. And it was really coming up, and finally I had to pick a flat place to stop so I could do something. And I got off the road between the road and the drainage ditch and popped open the hood, and I found a hose that had broke. The plastic fitting had broke, and it pumped all the water out. And on my Suburban, it has a front and rear heater, and the hot water goes to a T. Where it goes to either a heater core, and the connection is made with a push-on and snap-on connector, kind of like PEX pipe. It didn't have something simple like a piece of pipe that I could put a clamp on. So I'm fussing with this thing because there's a little bit of this plastic T that's left sticking out, and if I could get the hose on there and a clamp on it, I could motor on here. No such luck, and I'm sitting there working, and out comes a fellow from his house. He's set back from the highway. He comes wandering up there and says, if I needed any help. And I said, well, I got this problem. I don't have anything to fix it. I got tools. And what I need is a little piece of pipe, like a pipe nipple or a hose barb. And he said, well, I don't think I have anything, but let me go see. So he goes back into his house. About 10 minutes later, he walks out with a 4-inch piece of aluminum tubing that he cut off a ski pole. And he said, 30 years ago I used to ski and I don't anymore, so this was just sitting around, so I cut this for you. Perfect, absolute perfect fit, tight fit. Didn't even need a clamp, but I did tape it up with some electrician's tape. And we always carry our well water in jugs. I had 2 5-gallon and 2 3-gallon jugs. It took almost a 3-gallon jug to refill the radiator. But here's the rub on this. This is why this man is an angel and the good Lord was shining down on there. If I would have found that broken hose at that abandoned gas station, I wouldn't have moved and I couldn't have gone anywhere because I couldn't fix it. And I thought I fixed it. So I drove on a little farther and it broke. And it broke down in front of the only person on 176 that could help me right in front of his house. So, and he was just getting ready to go down to his church for a car show they're having today, or rather they had it on Saturday because this has all happened on Friday. So, it was just divine intervention that he came out with that piece of pipe that he cut off a 30-year-old ski pole, and it fit, and we went all the way down to Myrtle, and on the way down there, I stopped at an Advance and got a real piece of pipe stub and some hose clamps, screw-type hose clamps, and when yesterday morning when the engine was cool, I put it all in right. Bypassed the heater is what I did. I cut the other hose off and spliced it into the return hose, and just the water just going around and around. It's not going through the heater core. Don't really need those, but now that it's going to get chilly, maybe so. But when she gets home, I will get the proper fitting there and make everything right and put it back normal there. And anyway, that was just the pure goodness of the Almighty there, setting that up so that we were abandoned pretty much out nowhere. So. And the last comment on the road, when I was coming back yesterday, it's about 45 miles long from I-20 to Whitmire, and that entire road up there, there was not one person behind me. No car was behind me at any time in that 45 miles. There was a couple in front of me that turned off from the side road and went ahead of me, and they turned off again. But when I got on it down there in Columbia, 176, and started heading this way, there was nothing to look at in my rearview mirror. So that's how little that road is used. So if you got to go that way, don't take 26. take 176. So that's my tale of happiness there. So KJ4YEV in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group, KJ4YEV. I had a couple comments for John. John, I've heard of people using an output transformer in reverse, like you're talking about for modulation, and that's a good way to go, because modulation transformers are getting hard to come by these days. And regarding that Marantz, if you got somebody that can recap that thing, I'd let them do it, because those little small electrolytics in the early Marantzes are notorious for failing. Matter of fact, I'd be afraid to turn it on without doing that. So there is that. But Charlie, I'm sorry to hear about your coolant problems, but I'm glad you were able to get it straightened out okay. That was really fortunate that you found somebody that was able to help you with a part like you needed there. That's, like you say, the Almighty's looking out for you that day, so I'm glad you were able to get through that without any problems. And that's about it for me. I'm going to pass it on to John, K1VBC from KJ4YEV.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Al. KJ4YEV, K1VBC. Well, Charlie, between you and John, we've certainly had some great, interesting stories today. Steve, you had asked me about why I keep the remote switch at the top of the tower. Well, I have 4 different antennas that are up there. My hex beam, and then I have the 160 meter end fed, and what I normally use on here is an 80 meter dipole. But it's not a big deal on this tower, because if I throw a switch one way, the tower comes down from 55 feet to 25 feet, and then I throw a second switch, and the whole thing tilts over, and I can work on everything at the most with a 4-foot step ladder. So it isn't a big deal to investigate what the problem is. And I'll add a little comment about John's crystal calibrator. From what I read many years ago, that was made originally under a contract for helicopters, and several other companies had them go into it. Apparently, the original order was supposed to be for 3,500 of these, and it ended up being by error for 35,000, and helicopters was not expecting that, so they farmed out a lot of the business on making those calibrators to several other companies. And of course, the war ended right after that, but the contract went through, and there were plenty of them around. That's why, like so many years later, they're still out there. So that's all I have to say about that. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dave. And thank you very much for running the net. W4LLR, K1VVC.
Okay, did I double with somebody?
No, I was trying to come in there. K4JL, good afternoon, David.
Okay, Jim, real good. Any other stations that would like to join, come now.
KF4DRN.
All righty, there's Greg. Any more? All right, Jimmy, go ahead and make a transmission, turn it over to Greg, and Greg, turn it back up to me. K4JAL, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, K4JAL. Well, I got the old 32V fired up, and I even remembered how to do it. I hope I'm getting out. Enjoyed the Ham Fest yesterday. I think we had either 14 or 15 guys to our luncheon afterward, and I truly enjoyed it. Got to meet a lot of people I'd talked to before. Hello to Tommy. He was there. I was hoping Larry would be on here too. I'm sort of confused at the moment. David told me to turn it to somebody, and I don't remember who, but you know who you are, so you pick it up with my apologies. K4JAL.
KF4DRN group, good to be in here this evening. Good to meet up with Dave. It was good to meet you there at Hamfest yesterday at Greenville. Enjoyed the Hamfest, and I just got 2 items up there. One of them's a 100-foot roll of coax to RG214. I don't know if it's any good or not, but I'll have to check it with. I have it checked with antenna analyzer, I guess, SWR analyzer. Anyway, that and a multimeter, that's all I got. But I enjoyed meeting up with all the fellowship and everything, meeting the guys to talk to on the radio here. Anyway, WA4LLR to take it, KF4DRN.
All right, Greg, fine business. Any other late check-ins come down? All right, nothing else heard. Greg, glad you made it in this afternoon. Sure was good to see you in Greenville. And good deal on picking up the 214 and the multimeter. Jimmy, the Collins sounds really good. And glad you and Don could make it over yesterday. Now, if we could just get him motivated to actually get on the radio, we'd be flying. And John, I can't, VVC, I can't get over how much stronger your signal is. And I don't think conditions have made that much difference. I believe that antenna just talks better up this way. Let's see, Charlie, fine business on the divine intervention on your Myrtle Beach trip. It's amazing how that works. It's amazing how the Lord can put the right people in the right place. And Cliff, looking forward to hearing the Johnson Mobile. And let's see here. Oh, I did bring back one other thing. Norm brought me an S-meter for one of the LMAC receivers, so I've got to get that thing hooked up here one of these first days. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, even in the rain, and man, the luncheon was just something else. We had a lot of laughs. All righty, well, let's go back around for a 73 round. John, you'll turn, or VVC, you'll turn it down to Jim. Jim over to Greg, KF4DRN in Newmarket, Tennessee, and Greg can turn it back to me. So, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4L, LRN4LQ. Well, you found an S-meter for an LMAC receiver? Really? Now that's got to be the rarest thing that's been mentioned here today. So I know I built one, but Lee had one. He had an original, but those are as scarce as hen's teeth. Now, Charlie, that's an interesting story. If you really want to make it interesting, go back and go back to that place and knock on the guy's door, and the lady comes out and says, "Oh, he's not here. He passed away 2 years ago." That would be, that'd make the hair stand up on your head, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's see. Cliff, command set sounds good. I do detect some FMing though. I switched over to CW and listened to it chirping away as you were talking. It's kind of interesting. So, but if you didn't have it in synchronous mode or do what I did, you'd never notice it. And Jimmy, I'll tell you what, you win the prize for the audio tonight. My goodness, loud and strong, but just flat loud and clear. Just beautiful. Those 32Vs have always got great audio. So with that, I'll put my 73s out there and pass it along to Buddy. WB4ARK, N4LQ.
N4LQ, WB4ARK. Well, Charlie, I had a similar incident occur with my 98 Lumina, and I was on the way to Duncan's shop. It was on Highway 49, going out of our area here. It's only about a couple blocks down. It branches off 274 and goes back across the old Highway 49, comes out on Highway 5, and that was about 3/4 of the way along on 49, and all of a sudden I saw white smoke coming up from the hood. So I pulled off to the right. There's a road that turns off to the right, goes north. I turned around, pulled up off the road close to the intersection, and stopped and waited for things to cool down about 30 minutes, and opened the hood. Could see where the leak was. I had already done that, and it was right at the heater core, right where the two lines go into the heater core, and comes down from a tube on the engine, and so the hose had broken at that point. So after it cooled down, I cut the hose off close to the firewall, and I cut the other hose off. Had to cut both of them off because I needed to put something in there to block it. Put the two hoses together and block it. So I walked off into this wooded area, heavily wooded area. Found a piece of oak. Probably should have got something a little bit less dense, but got this piece of oak about the right size, and I whittled it down to where it would fit inside the lines. Stuffed it up in there. I had a roll of black tape. I always carry a roll of black electrical tape in the car, just in case I blow a hose. And I taped it up really good, and a guy comes along in a pickup truck, flatbed, open bed, back bed was open, and he stops and he says, "Do you need any help?" And I said, "Do you have any water?" Because I knew I was very low on water. And he says, "Yeah, I've got a milk jug here in my truck, and you're welcome to it." I said, "I appreciate that very much," and I poured that in the radiator and took off to Duncan shop, and then topped it off when I got down there, and so I ordered some hoses and replaced them, and that was a chore to get those hoses on. Big time chore to get those hoses onto that heater core at the firewall. So that was my experience of that happening, and it's definitely a real problem. Well, I'm going to say 73. Everybody have a great rest of this weekend, and we'll look forward to Tuesday. WK4TFI. This is WB4ARK.
Okay, everybody, WB4ARK, KB4PSI. Well, it's been a good net here this afternoon. I'm glad I got in here. I texted Larry, called him. I don't know, Dave. I don't know what that feller's into up there. But it's good to hear Jimmy and Greg. Got to meet both those guys yesterday, and a lot of fun there, Jimmy, at the dinner table. Greg, you missed a good dinner there, buddy. We had some barbecue that was out of this world, and I think everybody had a good time up there. But I'll say 73s and pass it along to Cliff here. Everybody take care, and hopefully I can get in here Tuesday. I don't know. I'm supposed to work that day, but you never know. WB4NKL, KB4 PSI.
KB4 PSI, WB4NKL. Okay, Tommy. It's good to see you at the Hamfest yesterday. And Steve, I'm not surprised that these command sets do a little FMing. The VFO voltage is regulated, but it's directly driving the. There's no tube in between the VFO and the panel, so I can see a little FMing going on. Probably that way from the factory. Charlie, good deal on the repair, and I've had similar things happen to me that it's too much just to be called luck. Somebody's looking out for us. So I don't think all that could just be luck of the draw. So thanks for calling it, Dave, and hello to Jimmy and Greg. Good to hear you guys and see both of you yesterday. And thanks for calling it, Dave, and I'll say 73s and enjoyed it. And on to you, John, KZ4B, WB4NKL.
Okay, WB4NKL and the group KZ4B, fine movements there, Cliff. Good copy as usual. I don't think it's hurting your audio any. You really sound great with that rig. So what if it FM? And I gotta tell my story. I didn't have any help, but I had a Volvo that was fuel injected, and I was in the middle of nowhere on Highway 64, and it would go a little bit and quit, and then when it would cool off, it would start running again, go a little bit and quit. And then finally it quit and stayed quit. This is somewhere between Silva and Murphy in the middle of the night. I mean, I am so screwed. But I noticed that when I would crank the car, when it was cranking, it would run. But as soon as I let go of the key, it would stop. And that is a sign that the ballast resistor is bad, because your ignition, when you crank an engine and it's running real low RPM, you don't need the ballast resistor. That's for higher RPM operation to keep the coil from saturating. And so it bypasses the ballast resistor to give you maximum spark when you crank it. But if the ballast resistor is open, just as soon as you let go of the key, it quits because the resistor is open. So all I had to do was move the wire over and short out the resistor, and I made it on into Murphy. And so I was totally screwed, but and I was thinking I had a fuel injection problem, but it was really that stupid ballast resistor, and a ballast resistor should never fail. I mean, that's a part that should be the last thing on the car to die. So I actually survived that deal. So thanks for calling the net, Dave. It's been an interesting day. And by the way, the band was really open yesterday. Late afternoon, I was listening to a ham named Hugh in the Netherlands, PH2UN. And the guy it was 3 o'clock in the morning on 20 meters. Usually 20 meters is, that's it on his end. So, the band had to be hot as a firecracker to still be open. And he was a really interesting character. He said that he had a hydroelectric station that he owned that ran his whole neighborhood, including himself, and had worked off about a 5-foot head. And his hobby was collecting big military surplus gear. He had a 10 kW. He wasn't using it, he claimed, although his signal sounded like it. 10 kW Harris transmitter, I think it's a 3CX 3000, and a whole bunch of insanely heavy, expensive military surplus. It was mostly all American. And here he is in Holland. I would love to visit that station. You can see it online, PH2UN. Quite an interesting character. I didn't work him. I was just reading the mail, doing something else, watching TV. I love to do multiple things at once, so I can't do anything right. So on that note, it's time to pass it on. Take it away, Charlie. W4MEC in the group, KZ4B clear.
Okay, John, KZ4B in the group, W4MEC. Yep. All right, fellas, good to talk to you today. We'll look for you on Tuesday morning. And y'all have a good rest of the evening. Hope it stays dry, a little drier. I looked at my rain gauge. I had like a half an inch, so while it rained a lot, or continuously, it didn't rain a lot, so we're here anyway. But my wife said last night at Myrtle, where she is at the Lakewood campground, it was the storm of the century down there. It was quite scary, so. But she has been through a hurricane down there in that RV, so it's a small one, but she weathered it. And we'll say 73, and y'all have a good rest of the evening. KJ4YEV in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC, KJ4YEV. We just had a little blast of sunshine here about 5 minutes before sunset, so maybe that means the rain's out of here. I hope it is, actually. And I'm hoping that the full cold snap doesn't interfere with everybody's fruit trees. I heard somebody say they had an apple tree that just bloomed. I've got a cherry tree in my backyard that I usually get enough cherries to make one cobbler. It's a small tree, but I didn't get any last year for the same reason. We had a little cold snap that burnt the blooms up, so hoping that doesn't happen tonight. But anyway, it'll do whatever it's going to do, so can't control that. So 73 guys, it's been a good net. I'll look forward to next Sunday, and on over to John, K1 VVC, KJ4YEV.
How about it, John? Have you bailed out for supper? I believe he has. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay, I had mine earlier, but my wife baked me a strawberry rhubarb pie. I'm chomping at the bit to go back over there and eat it. So I'll 7-3 out again. I enjoyed it. Good to meet you there yesterday, Greg, and I'll turn it over to you, or try to anyway. KW4DRM, K4JAL 7-3.
KF4DRN. Greg, are you still with us?
Okay, 4DRN, the group. Yeah, I'm experiencing a little bit of distortion when folks guys talk there a while ago. Had trouble understanding some of the fellas on here. Anyway, I can hear you okay, Dave, but some of the guys I couldn't hear. Couldn't tell what they were saying. Anyway, good to be here, and I guess I'll make this my last one here, say 7-3 all around, and just wanted to check in this evening. Anyway, I'll say 7-3, KF4DRN, WA4LLR to take it, KF4DRN.
All right, fine business. Okay. Well, real good. thank everybody for checking in. Signals have been good. Interesting conversation, and we'll hope to do it again Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. So, 7-3, God bless. This is WA4LLR, Dave in Burnsville, closing this session of the Old Friends Net. Take care.